Gring. Okay.
That's it.
So Jens was very kind and deployed the Hawkbit for me, and I've been trying to get that working now. So I already had this firmware updates working, so now I just hooked it up to a Hawkbit. So just starting off with the device there. I'm gonna flash with the version 0.1.0 firmware. That's the power on self-test. So now it should be accessible from Bluetooth. And I'm not sure, am I sharing? No, I'm not sharing this one. So, and I also have created a Drogue device, a Drogue Cloud device for the gateway that streams the data from the board. It's not doing that yet because the gateway is not yet running. And then I have Hawkbit running. So I'm going to start with creating a gateway in the Hawkbit. It's a target in our case. So we're going to call it gateway 1. Firmware gateway, and then we save it. And once we have that, we can look at, let's see. Details, yes. And there's a security token I'm using to access the gateway. And now I have this client of mine, get client. Just gonna fix the fonts here a bit. Oops. Is that okay, Dan?
Yes.
Yep. There. And I'll just start the connection. I need to set the name correctly. There's a lot of parameters here, but I'll explain them in a bit. It's basically it's first the MAC address or device address of the board. So currently I can only connect to one. There's the endpoint configuration for the what do you call it? Drogue Cloud, and then there's the Hawkbit configuration. So when I start this, it will immediately start to connect to the device and then start streaming data. Connected. There it is. Okay, so now I should see some values popping up in Drogue Cloud. Here they are. I can press some buttons and then the values will update for the button A and button B. Yeah, so it's sending reporting data every second if they are, and it reports to the cloud only if they have actually changed. So now we have the gateway configuration, and we have the gateway running, and it's pulling sensor data from the device. The gateway is also pulling Hawkbit for updates. So Hawkbit has a configuration saying the polling time for the gateways, and in our case that's 30 seconds. So it will wait 30 seconds before asking Hawkbit if there's some new data. So now let's start with updating the firmware. You can just see the stream of data going on, and then we create a software module. Upgrade. Oh, sorry. It's OS. There's different types of software modules. We just have one type really, so I'm just using the OS.
Can you zoom a bit on the Hawkbit window?
Yep. Is this better?
Yep, thanks.
So the new new firmware we have is 0.1.1. So we create a software module, and then a software module can have one or more artifacts. In our case, we only have one. And I'm uploading a pre-built firmware that I have. And there it's uploaded. So now we have a software module with the artifact. In order to deploy this firmware, we need to create a distribution. And then we call that, I'm not sure what the best names for these things are, but then when you have a distribution, then you can associate a set of software modules with that. So you just drag this over there. Oh, I used to be able to do that. Let's see. Oh, that's better. There you assign the distribution. Now that it's assigned, we also go back to the deployment, which is the gateway we have. We have the target, which is the Berber gateway. We have a distribution. So now I want to upgrade the software. I just drag this over here. Oh, before I do that, let me try and see if I can fit both this terminal and the sandbox at the same time. Like this. Okay. So let's drag this over here. Then I can select the way it's supposed to upgrade and when. So I'll just say forced upgrade, which means do it immediately. And then you can just click OK, I think. Okay, so there it's assigned. So next time it will pull, it should pull the new firmware. So we have to wait a few seconds. You can see there's some errors when pulling Hawkbit. I'm not exactly sure what that's from, but it could be some client issues on my side. So and then yeah, we'll have to wait. And okay, there it's discovered the new firmware. So it's receiving the firmware and it's triggered the DFU sequence on the board. And it's writing the progress to the console. So it takes maybe a few minutes to write everything over the BLE link. But you can see that the device is still reporting data while the firmware is being written. So it's sort of operating in the background right now. I think it was 42,000 bytes, so some time left, but it's writing 64 bytes at a time over the BLE link. That's the max I could have it write reliably. And then, yeah, let's push some button just to see that it's still working. Yes. 32. And then once it's upgraded, it will ask the device to swap the firmwares. Oops. Swap the firmware, and then it will wait until it's reconnected to the device and check that it has the new firmware version, because the firmware also has the version in it. Okay, so it's done. Now it's booting the device. So this is the critical hour to see if this is actually working. It takes 20 seconds to boot up the new firmware, but if you watch my camera, you should see the lights flash once it boots again. Oh, there it is. It's powering on, and then there's also a few seconds until the gateway will connect. Oh, it's connected. Connected to, yeah, and now it's connected to the new version. It reported the correct version. It's now reporting new data again. If we go to Hawkbit, it should also say that it's successful. Let me just refresh in case. Yeah. So in Hawkbit, the rollout is marked as complete. So now we're using a new version. And that's
Awesome.
it, I think.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. It's really nice that you can keep pressing buttons meanwhile the new firmware is writing.
Yeah, we need that, right? We need because it's so slow, because it's so slow to write the firmware on the device and transfer it. We need it to still report sensor data. I think. Well, we might not actually need it, but I think it's useful.
That's nice.
Good to have, yeah.
At
Actually,
least that's nice to have. Yeah.
The most challenging part of this was having the client or the gateway because it has a future streaming the data from the sensors using the Blur API, and then at the same time it has to pull the deployment or checking for the update. And once there is an update, you still have to have the other streaming stuff running.
Yeah.
So I had to learn a bit about Tokyo and task spawning, and then I finally got it working, I think. So yeah, so hopefully we can use somewhat the same process for mesh.
Yeah. Cool.
Well, Hawkbit is okay, I guess. I'm not super enthusiastic about its usability, to be honest. But it does the job, I guess. I did notice that if I delete an artifact, it's still there. So I'm not sure if the database is fully hooked up, or it's not deleting, at least.
Yeah. It's consistently.
When we have like 10 devices in the BLE mesh, will we be able to take advantage that I guess 99% of the firmware data is going to be the same for all device? And what changes the device ID, I guess.
Yeah.
So this is not a mesh, right? This is a.
Yeah, this is not mesh.
Really.
But in a mesh scenario, I think the gateways would be the ones transferring they would talk to Hawkbit in the same way as this is doing, right? And whenever there is an update, it will just send it out, broadcast it to the mesh network, I think. So that's a kind of the next step, I think, for me to get started with the mesh stuff as well, and see if I can hook the DFU part up to that. See how slow it is.
Awesome.
Okay, so I'll stop the recording. Maybe Jens wants to watch it since he helped me set it up. But yeah, I was also hoping to have like like a firmware build from Git hooked up. Like you create a tag in Git, and then there's an OpenShift builder process running, and then pushing the artifact to Hawkbit. So we have GitOps for all our devices. Okay, that's all I had.
That's nice. Well done.
Thanks for joining.
Yeah.